Everybody.
Another week. And I can see you guys, unlike 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, sorry guys, we were having some technical difficulties, and Gus apparently has some newfound celebrity too from his local TV news.
Yeah, feels good to be for them to knock on my door and still want to record with me. So even though I'm not a real estate agent, so I had to. Well, I am, but I'm not as much. So I had to message my broker and ask her what was going on, like day to day. So, but yeah, all in all, it went good. It went good.
When did you actually film that?
A couple weeks ago, and I didn't know when it posted. So I was just Googling my name because I like to Google to see what's going on. Nothing crazy on there. And I saw it. I was like, oh shit. And then I saw it late last night. So then my mind was racing. I have to figure out how to rip this so I can put it on my social media. So normally it's easy to rip. But I found this out. I might be slow to the party. Okay. Androids can screen record. I never knew that. I thought that was just the iPhone thing. So I know how to screen record now, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
Nice.
super embarrassing, but yeah, there we go.
So on that note, since you are the main real estate expert, what's everyone doing wrong?
Doing wrong in real estate?
Yeah, what are investors doing wrong right now?
In what aspect? As far as residential or as far as investors? What lane do we want to go through?
Take it wherever the wind blows you.
There we go. I think what some people are doing wrong is giving people asking price right at the beginning. What I'm seeing is houses that are getting on the market. You can let them sit. You don't have to make an offer the first week. You could wait the third or fourth week. Uh, Give the seller some opportunity to second guess themselves as far as price and be able to get a good 10 to 30,000 off those homes. It's a strategy that me and some of the clients I've been helping this year have been doing, which it's been working. I'm also trying to be able to do the same thing with. So with me, it's a little bit different. So I have some mentees, or I like to call them mentees. So when a place goes on the market and I may have interest on it and it has opportunity, what they'll do is they'll message me ASAP. And the reason why they do that is so I won't be able to go look at the property and put an offer in and then get it for myself. So because I was transparent with them, I told them I'll never get in the way if you guys see something, and they kind of remembered that. So anytime they get an email, I set them up on the MLS email. So anytime their buy box something gets in within their buy box, they'll get the email. And every time what they'll do is they'll message me, "Hey Gus, can we look at this place?" So they're able to go ahead and claim it for themselves. But I think those are some of the things that you guys need to go ahead and do is when something's hitting the market, you need to be able to go see it first within the first 48 hours. The reason why I see that because you got to determine from there if that's something that you're going to go ahead and have interest on. Then my next suggestion, in every place in the country is different, but at least in my area, if you wait a couple weeks, you'll be able to get it for a better price. So that would be the thing I would say that people out here need to hear, negotiate. Because if you don't, you'll be overpaying for the product. What about you guys in your markets? Cody, are you an active agent or you just have your license?
I have my license. I'm amongst the agents that don't do a lot of deals. But when I
Okay.
do deals, they're like for $5 million. So,
All right.
uh,
So
yeah.
if you want to speak towards it.
Well, yeah, I'd just say the biggest mistake I see is people play the capital gains business model. So they're buying stuff based on equity growth, and they don't get cash flow along the way. That's going to be a few different groups of people. That's developers, people that are doing the build to sell. It's going to be just developers in general. They don't have positive cash flow unless they get through their whole cycle deal and they keep it. Flippers, wholesalers, people that buy on speculation. It's a massive mistake, and people do it again and again, and they end up doing bigger and bigger deals. They never get a good cash flow that's consistent along the way, and they end up doing a deal that puts them too far over their skis, and they lose their stuff. So people that don't build a cash flow model, I mean, I've done both, been successful on both. The only one that I ever struggled on was the capital gains one. And that's consistent. If people don't have cash flow, they become forced sellers more often than not. And so that's it's a massive mistake that people make. Falls under the topic of what I talked about yesterday with Mark. We had that 1.5 hour long live with a gentleman that built a whole business off of growing equity rather than cash flow. And if stuff goes south, it's going to be very difficult to sustain that.
Cody, this is off topic, for your real estate license, did you plan when you got it, hey, this is more for me and my investments? Or at one point, was it for a source of income, or was it more to just be a more efficient investor?
Well, I got my license because someone told me to get my license. Some guy on Facebook that I hadn't met before. So I ended up dropping out of college to work with that guy. And then I didn't make any money. So that was great. It took 6 months to get a sale. And I made like $3,000 after splits. So I just got my license because it's what someone told me to do. And I'm impressionable, and I decided to jump into it. And I've shared a lot about that online. However, it was a source of income for a while. I don't have any active income now. I mean, my active income might be $10,000 this year, maybe. So I don't work for money, I should say. And that includes the real estate agent thing.
Okay, Gus, back to what you said, not giving asking price and waiting. What do you feel about, because I feel like there's these unicorns, a couple of them a year, and maybe more in your market because you probably most people have a bigger market than I do. And they're great prices. And so, yeah, you could wait and try to beat them down a little bit, but also they might not be there. So sometimes I have a property where I advise my client, if they need to move quick, to take the negotiation out of it. And it's not like, oh, well, sellers will say, I want to have some wiggle room. You also can just say no because your price is so good already. And so even though like we're in a market where everyone's saying go lower, do you think there's still deals to be had where, yeah, you might save a couple $1,000, but you also might miss out on the deal? Why play ball when you can jump on it?
Yeah. So I ask my clients, is this particular house flat out everything that you want? So if it is, and that's all they can think about, and that's their dream home, then I'm like, okay, let's try to negotiate as much as possible up front, but we do want to lock it in. But if this is someone who's been looking with trials and tribulations, have lost out on other opportunities and things along those lines, then I'm going to refer the other part is, let's wait and negotiate. Now, when I say negotiate, I'm trying to help my client get 20, 30 plus off of the home. I'm not talking about a couple thousand. Another thing I'll do is I'll throw out a filler, speaking with the other agent. Hey, my client, let's say a place is it's listed at 170. I may message them, hey, my client is around 150. Is that something that works for your client? Based on that answer, if you have good relationships with the agents and things along those lines, whatever that answer back to you, you could kind of get an idea where you can go with that particular agent in that particular home. So most times, what I would say, if you're looking at a couple $1,000s, it really doesn't mean much in my own opinion. I think another thing that's huge is closing costs. Because with FHA, what is it like? You could get like 6 to 7% of asking price, and then conventional, you could get 3%. I think maybe even 4% with some type of loans. With those happening, I think for my clients who don't have buku amount of money, you just heard Cody say he does transactions for 5 million. They're not doing transactions for 5 million. They're doing 200, 300, 400 grand. That money out of their pocket hurts them quite a bit. So what they rather have is the concessions. So they have to come to the closing with less money out of their pockets. So my goal is to have them come with less money out of their pockets and to be able to negotiate the best I can with those other parties. But if it's a must, it's their dream home, let's go ahead and take it down from the beginning.
Just getting all the good mornings in from everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Everyone likes your shirt, Gus.
Oh, thank you. I did have a question for Cody. Cody, when you do a transaction for 5 million, most likely, I'm assuming you're not paying yourself as an agent.
It just depends on the finance structure, right? If it's seller finance, then no, I'm not going to do that, because that just means I'm putting down payment to get taxable income. That would be silly. I'd rather just take it off the price. Yeah, but if it's not seller finance, then sure. And I'm doing a smaller deal than that right now, so I'm buying it for $1,350,000, and I asked for a commission, but that's a conventional purchase, and so I'm gonna have to put money down either way, right? So I might as well get paid. So I got closing costs on that deal. It's a 12 unit near where I live, and then I also got a commission. When
you're getting the commission, obviously I'm not asking what percentage you're asking, but are you getting normally what buyer agents get for a commission when you're doing a transaction, or are you kind of creating it a little bit lower?
This depends on the deal. I don't buy real estate to get paid a commission. There's a lot of agents that try and hardball a certain percentage, and it doesn't even matter. It shouldn't matter, is a better way of putting it. So if you're doing a good deal, like, commission should be the last thing you're thinking about. And that said, I've gotten as high as 10% before.
As an agent commission?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I sold a very difficult deal, so I earned 10. People don't like the price, raise the price. Yeah, that's one way to sell stuff. So, I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, but that deal warranted 10. It was a small deal. But yeah, I mean, it is, all numbers are made up. So pick one that works for you and go with it.
Emily, what do you see in your area?
I think people are adjusting a little bit, but it's like when you watch the stock market, and I mean, I don't really invest in stocks that much, but when I was a kid, my dad was a stockbroker for a while, and you would just see that the irrational cycle in the market and listening to people panic dump stocks. And obviously when things are not good, you don't want to sell, because once you sell them at a low, you make that permanent and you realize that loss versus hanging in there. And so it's funny when the market's really easy and you're competing with everybody, like during COVID times, people are buying like crazy. And then when it's hard and there's less competition, people kind of pull themselves out. And I think we've all watched that. And, people are saying now's the time to buy, invest now, when things are hard and things are tough. But it's amazing how people hop in and then hop out of the pot when it's a little bit tough. And when things started getting a little bit harder, I was kind of like, okay, let's go, like now it's time to kind of kick it up. But how many people really pulled themselves out and stepped back? I think they're missing out on a lot of opportunity. And I'm definitely talking about agents. I mean, I guess also home buyers, but if you have to sell, if you have to buy, you're going to, right? Like there's people that will wait until they think it's optimal time. And then there's people that are getting married and divorced and relocated and have job changes and they have to sell. But as far as investors exiting, like, I feel like if you can, now's the time to double down, and some really are not.
What would you say to investors, since you bring that up, what would you say to investors that are exiting at this particular time? Or what do you think when you hear investors are leaving at this particular time?
Well, okay, I guess I would say, what's your purpose, right? So there, it might be good, it might be okay to exit, it might not be, but if you're panic exiting, to me, it's just like selling at the bottom of the market. Now is not a great time to sell. Again, there's people that have to. There's people dissolving partnerships. There's things that financing have an impact on. I think we're seeing that with all the conversation of the large multifamily and people getting into trouble. But if you're just doing it out of emotional panic and you don't have to, it's probably not the ideal time. But honestly, almost any time we make emotionally driven decisions, those are usually not the best decisions.
Facts. What about you, Cody?
I just got blown up by a tenant. So can you ask the question?
What's the tenant saying?
One of them said, "Can you call me?" I hate when people do that. They just don't give any context. And then other people are just messaging about, they just moved in. So like, can you help with AC units and stuff? It's 6:19 a.m. What are we doing?
Wait, hold on, time out. Cody, don't you get like 150 to 200 tenants?
Yeah.
So all of them have access to your direct line to be able to, if something's going wrong, to message you and text you?
Oh, I have different phone numbers that all get rerouted. So
Wow.
and if I'm done, I set it up where I can just redirect them. So if I'm done, I'm like, I'm over it. I can just reroute this to a different phone and give it to someone. And if they end up screwing it up, I can reroute it without getting the phone. So
is 6 a.m. a normal message that you would get from a tenant?
technology is no, but that's what I get because I texted them in response to something they sent yesterday evening. So but I didn't want to text them back at 10 p.m. So I texted them this morning when I woke up.
No, nice.
I opened the floodgates on this one. That was my bad. So what was the question?
The question was, when you hear about investors taking a seat back right now with how the economy is, maybe things are being a little overpriced if they're on the market, whatnot. What do you think about that? Or what's your opinion on investors taking a seat back?
Well, price is one of the least important things to me. It has been for my whole entire investing journey because I don't play the capital gains approach. I buy for equity growth, but I based on cash flow. And so if you have that positive income, the price doesn't really matter. I said again and again for years that if 100 grand blows up your deal, you're probably not buying a very good deal. Now, I also realize that's pretty limiting, right? So I don't say that as much anymore because there's some markets where 100 grand will blow up your deal. But I'm a firm believer that if you're overpaying by 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, but you get the deal and it moves you closer to your goals, that's still a good deal. And I've done that again and again. I've overpaid for assets, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if it moved me closer to my goal to secure a location. I bought an asset for $1.3 million that was worth $1 million, and I still got a 300% return on my investment in 12 months because of the leverage point and the confidence I had to get the deal done. So price shouldn't be the only thing because it's not the only thing. And it's a poor reason to stay on the sidelines.
I have two questions. One is back to your phone number thing. Do you have an app for that, or how are you coordinating that, the phone number thing? Because I think some people might like something they can turn off or pass back and forth between people that are a landlord.
Yeah, I'm learning how to do it the right way from my buddy Cam. Cam is so much more technologically savvy, and so I'm going to be swapping my model, and then I'll actually have a better solution. But what I use is Google Voice, and what I did is I actually turned off the stupid Google Voice leave your name message that it leaves when you call. So now it just calls like a normal phone. I don't know if you've ever called the Google Voice. This is Google Voice. State your name. You can get rid of that. That's the dumbest garbage ever. Whenever I reach that, I just hang up. I don't even care if I was interested in the property. I just don't call them. So you can get rid of that with a click of a button.
Okay, my next question is, because obviously I think people that follow you and listen to you know you're doing really large deals. So when you're talking about you're not buying, you said I buy for equity growth based on cash flow. When you buy one of these, to me, like large expense properties, are you having like a certain, okay, if I'm in this tier, I want this dollar amount of cash flow, or are you looking for a percentage? Do you have a rule of thumb that you're looking for?
For sure. Yeah, debt coverage is the most important thing as long as you have fixed rate debt. This is the thing that I could not get across to the people I was talking to, one of the people I was talking to yesterday. Debt coverage ratio is everything if you have long-term fixed rate debt, meaning that if my principal and interest, my mortgage payment is $10,000 a month, how much is my cash flow in relationship to that? If I'm at the bare minimum, 1.2, which is a joke, that means for every 10,000 that I spend on principal and interest, I save 2,000 before CapEx, meaning that it takes 5 months to save one extra mortgage payment, right? So my goal when I'm buying something is I want to be able to get to a 1.5 debt coverage ratio. And I think it's possible when you're doing deals strategically to get to 1.5 within 18 months. So within 18 months of purchase, if I have a $10,000 a month mortgage payment, that means I'm going to cash flow $5,000 net. So every 2 months, I save a mortgage payment, and that helps lower my exposure because I can rebuild reserves. And that's on a 30-year AM. That's where I'm getting to debt coverage ratio.
And last week we talked a little bit about lending and the lenders you're using for your commercial loans. You're getting 30-year amortization on commercial loans.
Yeah, on most of them. This is where you have to balance stuff. I've got one lender who's extremely flexible, and they're in the mid sixes right now, 6.5, 6.6, and they'll do 30. I've got another lender who's at 5.8 right now, but they only do 25-year AM. So you have to pick and choose what I prefer to save on the interest, but maybe have an equivalent payment or a little higher payment. And I mean, it also depends on lending limits. Like one of the banks I work with, their lending limit's $5 million. So, on the deals I'm doing, you can tap that out in one deal. And I have 2 deals with them and I'm tapped out. So I'm going to refinance and then open up the 30-year AM product again. But they also underwrite differently. So banks are going to underwrite similarly, but also different. And I've found a lot of lenders locally to where I'm at will do 30-year AM. But some of them will only underwrite to a 25. And you got to pick what works for you.
And that 30 years that you're able to find with those commercial lenders, it's fixed for the whole 30 years?
Oh, no, definitely not.
Okay.
No, it's a 5.5. Yeah, if you want fixed rate debt for 35 years, your answer is HUD. But HUD doesn't really make sense until you get larger loan amounts. So I'll start looking at HUD loans. I'm looking at some right now, but those loans don't seem to make economic sense to me until you get to $6 million loan amounts, which is a great reason, by the way, if you want to play commercial, to scale, because it's fixed rate, no balloon, no rate change, non-recourse for 35 years.
Well,
35-year AM, you never have to refinance it. You're set. So that's for those who want to play multifamily and like the fixed rate debt thing, that's the end game.
So for that 30 years that you talked about, what is the ARM loan to that one?
Typically it's a 5.5. I've also seen products like I just got a loan for $3.4 million from Global Credit Union, and that was a 5.55. Granted, there's no prepayment penalty on that, and that is a value add deal. And also it works at a higher interest rate. A lot of them. But again, the thing with commercial is small, and it's all relative, but small commercial loans, you're going to have periods that can change. And so that's why when I'm doing these value adds, I'm not buying 4 caps with the goal of getting it to a 5. I'm buying 7s with the plan to get it to a 9. And it's a 6 cap market. Like I've got lots of room for error to pay for the cash flow.
We got a question. Cody, I see a lot of people complaining that they can't overpay because of their age. If you were 55 plus years, which strategy would you use?
I'm going to propose a question. If you leave that up, I'll propose a question I want you both to answer. And then I'm going to show why price doesn't matter at any age, within reason. It's always within reason. If I buy an asset for $1 million and I sell it for 2, what's my ROI? Either of you can do this.
Well, I thought you were asking. So you buy it for $1 million, then you sell it for 2?
Yep. It's not like a crazy trick question.
Yeah. So what was the question part? I didn't hear that.
What's your return?
What is your return? I don't know. Whatever you
Well, you're
put in.
almost doubling your money minus your expenses. Well, not quite. You're doubling more than that because you're down payment. You're not actually putting the full money into the deal.
Exactly. But people don't think about it like that. So it depends on how much you put down. If you put $1 million down and you net 2 on you sell, you doubled your money. If you put $250 down, you turn $250 into $1,250,000. You 5x your money, 500% return because of leverage. If you put $100,000 down, you turned 100,000 into $1,100,000. You got an 11x on your money. This is why price doesn't really matter as much. What matters is structuring great deals. So I bought a deal for $1,300,000. I put $100,000 down. I overpaid. It was only worth $1 million. So day one, I was negative. Today it's worth about $1,600,000. Now I'm not selling it. Someone could argue, well, if you sell it, you're going to have $125,000 worth of sales fees, and so it's not 1 for 1. My point is, I overpaid by 30%. Within 12 months, I got the rent roll from $8,000 to $12,500 a month. Pushed the value up tremendously, and now I have a $400,000 equity position in a year on an asset I overpaid for, and my investment was $100,000. So it's a great return, right? And I overpaid. And in that example, if you're 55 and you did that deal, as long as you know how to structure it, you could get the same return I did by the time you're 56. If you're going to be 56 anyway, do it. But you have to know how to structure it. You got to understand the returns. You got to understand how you drive value. And while I bought that for the equity growth, I bought it based on the cash flow. That deal cash flow is about $40,000 a year. It's a 15-unit apartment building here and in Moses Lake where I live. So it's a phenomenal cash-on-cash return in addition to the equity growth. And I overpaid by 30%. So it's why I say price is one thing, but it's not everything.
So when you up that rent from the 8,000 to 12.5, what became the value of that building?
That building, it's worth about $110 a door, a little less, and that's just based on the fact that I own the rest of that neighborhood. Like I know what things are appraising for. I just had a building adjacent to it appraised for $116 a door, and these units are a little bit smaller. And that's just based on the income it produces. It's at $12,500 a month, a little north of that. And I've still got another $2,000 a month in the rent roll. But
how many units?
Because of the operational expenses being so low for that asset, believe it or not, majority of apartment buildings where I live are on septic. So my utility cost for that is like $400 a year. And then we have the cheapest power in the country. So my utilities are next to nothing. and they're single level buildings, small units, so maintenance is very little, and people stay there like the 97% occupancy level throughout the year. So it's a pretty good cash flow relative to what I paid.
How many units did you say the building was?
15.
So you're saying the building is worth 1.65?
1.6. I mean, yeah, it's around there. Someone would give an opinion that it'd be at $1,650,000. Someone would give you an opinion it's $1,550,000. It's in that range depending on the day, depending on how the appraiser feels. But
And
on that asset, it's just a little north of 100,000 NOI, based on actuals and how it operates with management fee. If I add that back in, and so you figure, what's the cap rate you want to appraise it at? 6.5 cap, it's $1,538,000. 6 cap, it's $1,600,000 and change.
And how long did it take you to get from 8,000 to 12.5?
12 months.
Do one of you
I do
want
want
to?
to.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to ask one more question. So I remember you were trying to sell a property before, and it didn't go through. I mean, you ended up not selling it. What was with that one? What was the situation with that one?
Yeah, I didn't believe that it was going to sell. I mean, so there's phases with properties. When I bought that 5 years ago, it was the biggest ghetto in Grant County. Legitimately, it was the worst of the worst of the worst. I've gotten through 2 full, maybe 3 full tenant turns. So I've had massive turnover at that building because you don't go from class F, which it legitimately was. I've shared stories on that before, so we don't have to jump into it. You don't go from class F to class C plus overnight, right? You're phasing out tenants, phasing in new ones. It gets better and then worse and then better and then better. And so I didn't expect it to sell. Broker thought he could sell it. So I said, if you could sell it, go for it. And so I didn't even list it. I let someone else do it. And you know what? They didn't get it sold. Shocker. So I proceeded with my original plan and I refinanced it. And I'm actually signing for that today. So I'm pulling out 6 figures, cash out. My payment's actually going down because of interest rates going down, and hold on to it. And you know, the debt pay down on that building alone is over $50,000 a year. Cash flow on it's almost $100,000 a year. We're just shy at about $7,000 a month. And yeah, just gonna hold on to it for a while.
What when you refied it, what did you get as a refi total amount? What did it come out to be?
The loan is $2.6 million.
So that was the loan, but what was the what's the word I'm looking for? What did it appraise at? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, so it appraised at 355. My prior appraisal was 3.9, and my lender with Cashmere said they think it's BS, but it's still high enough to get the loan done. So I'm sorry. I was just gonna say sometimes it doesn't even matter to fight it. Like that's why I was saying it could be 155, could be 165, it's probably 1.6, like on my 15 unit. But it doesn't even matter. Like if you can get what you need to get done, just let it be. So
what did that broker list it for?
3.8.
No, that makes sense. Nice.
Flavio's saying, nice building, waterfront. Oh, the 15 unit. Yeah, you can see the lake from my property.
Okay, I want to get over to a couple of these questions. I've not done yet debt that's not fixed or not just really short term. So when they talk about the ARMs, Craig asked, do you have any idea what the rate will be changed to in 5 years? Is there an upper limit? You guys have more experience with the commercial lending. Can you explain that process of, okay, here's your rate, it's fixed for this many years, here's how much it potentially can go up within that period?
Yeah, you want to share on that, Gus? Do you want me to?
So for me on my end, because I've had some that have matured, so it's whatever the current rate what my relationship with the bank, whatever the rate that current bank has as of that particular point, at least with me. So I had one where at that particular time I had a 4.5% interest rate. It ended up maturing in August of 2025, and I ended up at a 7.5% interest rate. And that was the rate that was going at that current time. So that's how that particular bank does it with me.
I'll just share a couple snips because I just have them on my phone from deals I've done. But too bright. Here I was thinking I got it right this time. So some promissory notes, they will end up actually sharing, like, let me see if I have it right. Payment stream. So like payment stream number 1, 15 consecutive months of X. Payment stream number 2, 45 consecutive months of X. And it shows like the payment and the interest rate. And then I'll show you a different one. It usually, someone will be able to pause this so they can actually read it, but it usually says the index. That's too many words probably, but it says at this point in time in 2031, it's going to index off of X plus a margin of some percent. And you either buy rate caps if you can, or you don't, but it could be like, it'll do this margin plus 3% up to a max of 8% or 9% or whatever it may be. But that's all spelled out it's called a promissory note.
And sometimes they use different indexes. I've heard of people getting loans. I can't even remember. I was talking to this guy during COVID. He was a real estate instructor, and what it was going off of. And then it was like you said, +1 or however much. I can't remember what it was, but it was some foreign. It was weird what they were going off of and then adding to for their index. It was interesting. Okay, Cody, we got another question for you. Hey, Cody, how did you put $100K down for your $1.3 million deal? Thank you.
Cash money. No, I wrote a check. And that check actually came from the 12plex I own next to it. So I bought a 12plex for $680, and I got a loan on it for $1 million. So I pulled money out, used that money and I've shared how I did that exactly in past videos, but I used some of that money to renovate, and then I used the rest of the money to buy this 15 unit that is adjacent to it.
So when you're making these increasingly kind of large and expensive purchases, is that normally how you're coming up with the down payments? Is your value add to your other property and then refinancing or putting a second, pulling that money and then investing it into something else?
I've done a handful of BRRRR deals. Right now, I'm not doing that because I don't have to, but you get in where you fit in, right? In the beginning, you get a good deal, you get a good cash flow. Like, I bought a property. This one I'm getting a loan for $2.6 million on. I bought it for $2 million. I have negative money in that deal, and I have for a long time. So yeah, I think it's a great strategy, but you can't compromise your cash flow in the process. I'm a huge proponent for borrowing more money to scale into better products. But you have to have solid cash flow. The other thing is the debt coverage with margin, right? When I borrow a bunch of money, I want to make sure I can get back to a 1.5 debt coverage ratio. And on the deals I'm borrowing on, I can. And so if in 5 years my rate goes up, I'm still okay. To Craig's point, you basically have no clue what the rate's going to be in 5 years. You're right. And the thing is, I built my whole business with rates in the 7s and 8s. I've got loans at 8.625 right now. I don't think it's going to go a heck of a lot higher than that, and I still cash flow at that. So when I get a bank loan, my lender's stress testing at what point does my deal start to fail where I don't break even anymore, and it's in the high 8s. So I don't want that to happen, but if it does go up from 5.8 to 8.5, at least I can still make my payment.
making sure we're getting all the questions. Do you think there's some, do you worry about paying stuff off? And I think I know the answer based on conversations we've had, but when kind of Flavio was asking about if you're 55, do you even care if stuff's paid off, or is it like, hey, if it cash flows, still an asset?
It truly doesn't matter. Like if you want to have stuff paid off, cool. Just make sure you set everything up with your attorney and your CPA and be comfortable paying more taxes. This is the thing people don't seem to understand. Taxes are more expensive than interest. It's what it is. You can be debt free and pay a higher tax rate, or you can be in debt and pay interest. But even at 8%, if you own a bunch of assets, 8% interest is going to be cheaper than your tax rate, right? And the way you get a bunch of write-offs, you're incentivized to be in debt. So like you can have more depreciation because you can own more assets and you can write off the interest. And there's so many ways to do it legally, which is amazing, but it just depends what you want to do. If you want to have a small but mighty portfolio, maybe at that age you want to be debt free, but also I'd still rather not pay the taxes. Maybe instead of 25%, I pay, for taxes, I pay 6 or 5 or 7 and save a bunch of money in the process. You can also own better assets using debt. So then you could own by yourself without it.
Thanks, Cody. Was your loan for the deal commercial or seller finance? If I'm not mistaken, I thought commercial was 20% down.
It was seller financed. They stuff with 5% down too. You can buy apartments 5% down, 10% down with commercial loans and the cash flow. You can do seller finance second mortgages, and the bank will take a first position for 70%, 75%. Seller comes in for 15 to 20%, and you can get in with low money down.
So just going back, so I wanted to pull up the similar thing that Cody had. From my bank. So on mine, it says the Wall Street Journal prime rate, the margin is 0.5, plus 0.5%, and new interest rate would be equal the Wall Street Journal prime plus 0.5. So that's how they would determine it. And I think that's how they do it currently right now with the regular interest rates, for me at least, I think.
Cool. Craig put something in the comments I just want to share. He said, I think taxes being higher than interest isn't cut as dry as it looks. I pay taxes on 200 grand but once, but interest is forever. Well, if you have paid for real estate, you're going to pay taxes as long as you have the paid for real estate, right? So, I mean, that's forever too. And taxes every year are more expensive than interest every year, expressed as a percentage. Emily, have you done a portfolio loan? From Flavio.
No, I have not. So far, I ran out of conventional loans, couple, maybe in the last 1.5 to 2 years, and just started doing commercial loans.
Big ballin'. I still don't have any conventional loans.
Yeah, I'm all residential. Little up to 4plex is the biggest thing I have. So everything's residential.
It's great.
So I wanted to ask a question, Cody. So Brady, when he was explaining his stuff and you were able to go ahead and take a look at his cash flow, or at least what was shown there. I don't know if that
lack thereof.
I don't know if that was the actual numbers that he has. What is your opinion on that? I guess that's a better question to ask.
I'll just repeat the very first thing we talked about. Building a business for equity growth is a silly way to build a business. That is the highest risk proposal in real estate. Real estate's a cash flow business. All it is about is debt, taxes, and cash flow. That's the only reason to be in real estate. So to try and do the equity growth thing where you're shoving after-tax dollars into paying down debt doesn't do it for me. It doesn't make sense. And restricting your cash flow so that you can maybe make it down the road doesn't do it for me. And I told him multiple times, like, I wasn't there for him. I was there for the audience. But I truly don't understand why anybody would shoot themselves in the foot like that financially. You're just creating a burden that doesn't have to be there. And the debt coverage ratios he was talking about were so low that anything happens, you trip on a thumbtack and your business can crumble. So that's my thoughts on that. And I think if you watch the whole video, he's talking about one debt coverage ratio. And when I asked him to analyze the deal, he wouldn't do it. And if you looked at the analysis, he plugged in the numbers. He didn't put in vacancy. He didn't put in management. He didn't put in a real maintenance budget above 1.5%. And it was still not going to cash flow based on his numbers. He lowered the price from the original number he was sharing. And we used his rent. And as soon as I brought up real expenses, he was like, well, let's just raise the rent up to $4,000 then. I'm like, well, now you're just trying to illustrate from $3,350. Now you're just trying to illustrate a fictitious situation. We were using your numbers. You just forgot some. So there's this saying I've shared before, numbers don't lie, but people do. I'm not saying he is. I would never say that. But it is so easy to make numbers look good on paper.
Or if you really want to make a deal work, you see it all the time. It doesn't make sense. And I think we've all been guilty of it. You want to make it work and you're like, oh, well, maybe the vacancy won't be that bad, or maybe the repairs won't be that bad. And then you create a bad situation for yourself. I think we also have to be honest with ourselves, because sometimes we want to make something work and we're not truthful to ourselves as well. Craig, just for the record, Cody, I think the proper debt to have on a property is just enough so the debt payments eat up all income except that which can be offset by depreciation, so therefore borrowing. I don't have an involved enough accountant to help me figure this out.
Depends on the strategy, right? I totally agree with Craig if you're coasting at that point. But since I'm continuing to upgrade my property class and size, like I'm consolidating from a bunch of small stuff into bigger, nicer, newer stuff, the write-offs, even with the debt levels that I carry, more than offset. But that still aligns with what he's saying, so that's fine.
Well, and the cool thing is there's a million ways to do it, and there's a million priorities and a million goals. And so what life are you wanting to live? Some people, I've talked to Mark about this a million times. Mark's like, I'm not like you guys. I don't love real estate. I have real estate as my means to what I'm trying to, where my end goal is, right? And then some people are loving the game. Some people want to do it forever. Some people want to get here and then they're done. I mean, there is a wrong way to do it where you lose everything. But if you're intentional and you know your numbers, there's no way that you have to do it. Okay, guys. Well, anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
Looks like Gus had something he was thinking about.
No, I don't got nothing to say, man.
Yeah, you do.
No, well, I think if whatever Brady does, if in the long term it pays off, it pays off. I think where some of the friction started is when Brady was chiming in on some of the things Cody was saying. So now you have two people who are going against each other. When now you have Cody really breaking his numbers down, and potentially, I don't know the true numbers. I don't, you know, there was a glimpse. I don't know if those were factual numbers or not, but Cody's kind of making Brady look like he don't know what the fuck he's doing. But
And you know why I had to
wait,
I had to position stuff that way?
hold on, let me just finish. But with
Sure.
that being said, like what Brady's doing can actually in the long term actually can pay off. So I know we tend to hear a lot of people break down analysis and numbers and things along those lines, but there's also they're doing that because they're putting buffers in there and you know just being prepared as far as the worst case scenario at the end of the day. But sometimes at the end of the day, shit can go against that and shit can still be successful in the same token. So I don't want people to be listening to this and everyone leave like Brady doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Obviously, I checked out his YouTube. He knows how to build. He knows how to build. He has a plan. Is his plan bulletproof? You know, many people could say many different things, but at the end of the day, it's about what the results in the long term is. Because people told me, and I use this as an example, and this is probably doesn't go equate to what Cody's saying. Cody's going to go the numbers are black and white. Understand? But people told me, Gus, it's going to be too hard for you to be an agent and be successful. Here's the numbers as far as new agents. There's a 6% chance a new agent's going to be able to, you know, sell more than 5 homes or 20 homes or whatever it may be. If I just went by that, then you know, I may have not have done it because the numbers weren't in my favor. So I don't know. Sometimes when we break things down, I don't think that's the whole story, in my opinion. But go ahead.
Yeah, and share on that. The only reason, because I didn't set that call up, right? I had nothing to do with setting that up. That said, Brady said I was naive and didn't know better on my live. So if he's going to say that and say I don't understand the numbers and then not present any numbers, I have an issue with that.
100%.
So yeah, and that's the piece. And advising people on things but not being able to show the numbers. I can show all the math. I showed exactly how I underwrite everything. He didn't. So I just don't like being called out and then not having that argument supported, because I will be the first one to admit when I'm wrong.
Gus,
He just didn't bring it.
Yeah, Mark's full of crap.
That was a bummer. Oh, this is Gus's thing.
No, it's Mark's full
What
of
did
crap.
I miss? I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Did you guys do a live?
You should. It was yesterday, and the guy. The only reason I engaged with him is because he said I was wrong, I was naive, and I didn't know what I was talking about.
Is it on your channel?
Yeah, it is.
It's on my
Okay,
channel.
I'll go watch it because I'm like
And
lost.
well, I'm going to read 2 quotes, and I want you to have your own opinion. Please formulate your own opinion and let me know. But when he was underwriting his deal, because I asked him just to show us how to underwrite, he said the point isn't to mimic real life. Here's another quote, 1 hour 19 if you just want to skip. It works assuming you don't have any hiccups along the way.
Which
Like that's not a strategy you should share with people.
no, it's not a good strategy. I feel like there's a lot of people who have been really lucky and their models only worked. It's like flippers that flipped when interest rates were dropping a lot. And they're like, we did everything wrong and we still made money because they were lucky in time and place. But you're right, it can't be your strategy. There's a lot of people that get really lucky, but you can't build a plan off of that or you're gonna screw yourself.
And I told him I'm very happy it worked for him. Like you never wish ill on anybody, but when you say that, like if I said that you don't know what you're talking about, and then I can't back it up, like that's not cool either, especially when it's on a public space and we're trying to help people.
Well, that's usually what people do in public spaces. I don't know who you're talking about,
Yeah.
but people usually lob and then they don't have backup for it.
Yeah.
I will-
So Gus, thanks for setting that up.
Yeah, that was all Mark. But anyways, I mean, I want to ask you a question. Do you know your numbers like back of your hand?
No.
Okay, neither do I. So, I mean, obviously, I think most people could tell. I just look at my account and see where my numbers are supposed to be. Cody, you may not like this. This is I'm being transparent. I'm not going, yo, the numbers, this, that. That's not my style. My style is I'm aware of my numbers or where I should be around. And I'm aware when I get my end of the month statement from my property manager, I'm aware of those numbers as I go through each particular property. And as time passes and I start looking at totals, I'll pay attention to what's going on. But as far as if I'm going somewhere and someone's like, so what's your ROI on this property? I don't know that shit. Like I really don't. And to me, it doesn't fucking matter. To me, what matters is that bitch cash flowing or not? Is there cash flow? Is money coming in? I'm all good. Is enough money coming in from when I underwrote it from where it is now? If it's somewhere around that area, I don't have to this is just me. I don't have to memorize the numbers and do the math equations and I think a lot of people are more that way than deep dive into the numbers and be able to tell you all different types of ways.
That's super fair, but you're also not calling people out who do the numbers, right? Like that's the thing. You're not saying, well, you're the guy that's doing the numbers, you're doing it wrong, and then don't back it up. It's completely different.
No,
like you're good, but if you told me, well, a rate factor doesn't matter for anybody, like, well, I would have to back it up, right? But you're not saying that.
No, and that's why I said Brady was chiming in on the lives, so he kind of threw himself out there. And then we saw what happened yesterday. And I just want people not to look at Brady like the dude don't know what the fuck he's doing. He's doing something. We just got to wait and see if it all pans out.
See, we got more people saying Gus was stirring the pot.
I was on the side of the road with a flat tire. I was watching it from the side of the road with a flat tire. So no.
Instigator.
We need Mark with his AI. So somebody commented, hold on, let me see. Brady versus Cody Rumble and Gus was stirring the pot. So I want Mark to make an AI that's Brady and Cody WWE style and Gus.
He already did.
What's the middleman guy that always like rouse everyone up? When I was a kid, you could get the wrestler business cards and there was like the managers that would like get everybody like even worse. We need that for an AI photo or video.
Wow.
Check your guys' text. Someone cold DM'd me this yesterday.
Oh my, it is. Okay. So in case anybody's wondering, it's a fighting match.
So I was nowhere in that picture, so I had nothing to do with it. See? Proof in the pudding.
It probably came from you to them.
No, it did not. No, it did not.
It all comes back to Gus.
That's crazy.
I am going to try on the next thing I buy to do my numbers. I just struggle because I have so many, like I know my number the end of the year when my taxes get done. But like if I have this crew that has my Home Depot account and I just text to approve the charge and then whatever, I'm going to try on the next one that we start to track my numbers all the way through so I can do a video. It'll probably be a flip because I think the next thing we're acquiring will be a flip, but I do want to do my numbers all the way through. But I said that like 2 or 3 properties ago and also didn't do it. But that's my goal, to document numbers in real time. But I'm just not very organized. I got troubles with that.
Do you want to know how I do my numbers?
Is it written on a piece of paper?
No, these are my current projects. I don't know if you even be able to, but I got everything written out on a notepad. This is how I do my stuff. I don't do it on the computer. Well, my bookkeeper also has her copies of shit too. But mine, for my own knowledge, just to make sure where I'm at, I like writing it in the notepad. I know that's not going to be super popular with, the guys that are super savvy. It makes me feel good. It makes it easy for me.
I literally have a center console in my truck that I just throw all my receipts from Home Depot in. And then when it gets so full I can't close it, I put them in a Home Depot bag and tie it so I don't lose any of them. and I throw it in my office. And then at that sad time of year when it's time for taxes, I go through and I can tell based on the month and the project go like what if it's kitchen cabinets or bathrooms. I'm like, oh, that month I go back on my phone and pictures. Oh, we were working on the kitchen on this house. I create a nightmare for myself every year. Every freaking year I create a nightmare for myself. But that's how I do it, and it's a problem.
Cody, I want to ask you a question real quick. So if people don't know their numbers by heart, are they real investors?
Well, if you don't know your number, like how to underwrite or just how to track them.
Say if me and you just met for the first time and we're talking shop and you're talking about your numbers.
Yeah. If you don't know how to underwrite, then you shouldn't be buying stuff.
Okay.
That is
I know how to underwrite. Okay. We know how to underwrite, right, Emily?
Yeah. Then great.
Okay.
You don't have to be an accountant.
Up-to-date numbers.
Yeah, you don't have to be an accountant. But right, when I was on the live yesterday, I asked him to underwrite a deal, and he wouldn't do it. We never got to showing the actual numbers because they were negative, and I knew they were negative because this is the thing: when you know, you know. If you know what a rate factor is, a cost of capital, if it exceeds your cap rate, which it obviously did on his deals, then you're going to be negative if you're borrowing a lot of money. And so right away I could look at his deal and be like, oh, he's negative. And then you see like the half-second snip where he scrolled over it. It's like, oh yeah, that was less than zero. That's not great. You know, it's if you can underwrite, people can't lie to you on the math. You don't have to know exactly where your business is at every day. That's not what I'm saying. But you are more susceptible to getting lied to by people if you don't know how to do the math in real time. And I very simply asked him to underwrite something, and it just didn't happen.
So because I didn't watch it, is this somebody that's doing like a full equity play versus a cash flow play? Like, is their whole investment strategy long-term equity game?
It's a 1 debt coverage ratio on a 15-year AM, and he levers to where he gets it to pay for itself.
Okay.
But the maintenance was $35 a month on a $33.50 a month rent, and there was no vacancy, there was no management. Like 1% for maintenance doesn't cut it.
Do you think there's ever a justifiable reason, maybe with a super high income earner, to play the equity play, like long-term just buy and hold? I have a friend who's a very specialized doctor, and he's like, listen, I want to borrow other people's money. I put my down payment down. I don't manage them. I don't whatever. He's like, long-term, one day these will be, worth more. And he has properties in different areas. They've increased in value because he does not need any return and also can inject capital back into them. He is a very high income earner. So his just a long-term, this is where I'm parking my money. It's almost like a retirement account. Do you think that ever makes sense for a super high income person?
Sorry, I was laughing at Abagus.
Dude, Mark is a fool.
That's great.
Amazing.
Mark is a fool. Yeah.
So here's the thing on that. They can afford it. But why? Again, like the reasons to be in real estate: debt, taxes, and cash flow. Just because you don't need one doesn't mean you shouldn't buy for all three, right? That's a freaking great comment. I'm glad you realized that.
Sure, man.
That's the worst.
Oh, I feel like Mark's gonna spend $19.99 and get a T-shirt with a house, and it's gonna be, calculator and all that. That's gonna be great. I'll wear a matching one at ORAT if you get it. So to your question, right?
What are we doing? Go
ahead. I'll wear it, Mark. If you send me that, I will wear it for a live. So let's say you're making $1 million, right? Is that a good reason? Because there are people out there making $1 million, $2 million a year W-2. They can buy stuff, and sure, they'll get their write-offs, and they're using other people's money. Why would you want to buy something that you have to feed, though? Why would you spend money to detract from your current lifestyle? That's silly to me. I would still buy stuff that has good debt coverage ratio. So buy something that's at a 1.35 or 1.5. If you have all that money, maybe just put more money down if you can't find the best deal out there. But don't buy something that's not going to cash flow just because you can afford it. Just be a rich person with good fundamentals. You can do both.
So, I mean, you're truly talking about no cash flow. I guess I was talking about maybe there's not a lot of cash flow. Maybe, they're like, hey, listen, I know this area is appreciating. There's low cash flow, but that's not my priority. You're talking about someone who's truly losing money every month on a deal. I guess I should have clarified. That's not necessarily what I meant.
Yeah, the deal yesterday that was underwritten, no cash flow. I mean, it was like $100 or $150 with no vacancy, no management, no maintenance. Okay. Like that's a joke. Like that doesn't work. But again, if your mortgage payment is $1,000 a month and you cash flow $1,000 a month, that's different than if your mortgage payment's $10,000 a month and you cash flow $2,000 a month. One of those is significantly riskier. The debt payment obligation that you're taking on relative to the net dividends that you're getting matter. And that's where the debt coverage ratio is important.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I've talked about in the past where I bought things on 15-year notes, but that's because they were seller financed and that's what the seller was willing to give me. And they weren't making me put anything down. And I knew at any time I could put it into a 30-year and be in a much better position. It was just like, now this works. I can always restructure this. But it wasn't like I was intentionally doing that. It was just what was being given to me. And it made sense. And then now it's like I've left them and now it really makes sense. But I always had an out. Because it was low cash flow, it wasn't no cash flow. Because you've talked a lot about 15 years, but it's like usually that's just because that's what a seller is willing to do. All right.
Gus, any more mistakes you want to share?
On
investor mistakes, topic of the video.
Buy right. Don't get on Cody's nerves because then he's gonna call you out on the internet.
No, if you call me out on the internet, I'm willing to have a conversation.
Nah, just look at Mark. I want to know how Mark underwrites. That's what I want to know. We're yet to hear how he underwrites. But anyways, buy right. That's my last thing.
Is he just commenting Abagus on all of his devices?
I mean, he got nothing but free time, so he's gonna do it a long time.
The perks of being a financial firefighter.
So on your,
if you wait 10 seconds,
no, go ahead.
I was just saying, if you wait 10 seconds, my AI is finishing up this shirt.
I'm gonna make a shirt too.
Forget.
With the steam coming out of your head yesterday. That's gonna be my shirt.
Okay, you guys send me your graphic.
Oh, wait.
All right, let me do one. I got one.
Can you get the artwork off of that, or does it actually show it like it's a print? If you can send me the artwork.
That's so funny.
I have a garment printer.
I'm sending it to Mark too, because why not?
So whoever's with Mark next, Mark, we can go, whoever lives with Mark next, is that you, Gus? You could have Mark, or if he needs time, do a breakdown of how he underwrites a deal.
Okay.
Because he always is like, sits back and it's his time to shine.
Doesn't say anything.
Listen, he gets everything set up. I'll tell you what, it's much nicer to come on and just have the link set up and the thumbnail made. Like, we're sleeping on appreciating Mark for the work he does.
But Emily, you did a great job though. So I do want to say you're doing a wonderful job. We just got
I'm gonna need some suggestions for next week.
100%. I'll make sure we're on it next week.
Yeah, we left you on red on accident.
I was like, you mother effing pussies. Like, you guys, you didn't freaking respond to me. You responded, hey. And then I don't know if there was text bubbles from you and nothing, but like, y'all can suck it.
I think it was late. I'm on Eastern time.
You could have got with me earlier.
My fault.
And if you're awake to respond, hey, you could have responded, yeah, let's talk about.
Yeah, you said it twice. HRY, APY.
Hey, man. That's what we did. Don't worry.
All Nighter Hider wants an Abagus tutorial.
That's no problem. I'll show you how to cash flow.
Okay, guys, we're digressing and we're over an hour. So I think unless anyone has anything to add, you ready to wrap this up?
Deuces.
Okay. Abagus and Cody, we'll see you guys on the next one.
I'm a guessing, coach.